was it?
All right, here we go.
Welcome everyone to our press availability and access to the Senate from our viewers on the internet. Thank you for watching us today. We had a number of presentations, citations, recognitions on the Senate floor today. One of those was UESP, our Education Savings Plan, that's now, what was it? How many years old?
96, didn't you say 96?
Yeah, so 20 years old. And it's rated the #1 education savings system in the country. $8 billion of assets or managed funds, and so we're very proud of the way we've put that together here in our state. First of all, we'll just go ahead and take questions from the press, and then as viewers who are watching us on the internet, if you have questions, please let us know. We'll try to answer those today. Any questions?
So this might, I'll go ahead because it's a simple question. It might not sound like a serious question, but it is. Is doing all of these citations and time certains and all those kind of things a good use of the Senate's time? I mean, you talk about having more bills than you've ever had before, and while some of them you don't think deserve the time, a lot of them do. Have more than half of floor time is taken up by that.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think part of the legislative session, personally, and I think most of the senators would agree that we need just to take a little time out. It doesn't take a lot of time, sometimes these personal privileges, but recognizing people. I think that's an important part of the process, and yeah, maybe we don't pass 1 or 2 bills at the end of the day, but I don't think that's going to be a great loss because we generally prioritize towards the end of the session and we get the most important bills passed.
With the LDS Church over the weekend putting its thumb down on Senator Madsen's bill, is that DOA in your opinion?
Well, it makes it more difficult. I don't know if I'd characterize it as dead on arrival, but I don't know what it does. Also, the church has taken no position on Senator Vickers' bill, and I know there's some concerns with that bill also. But as I said a couple sessions ago, a couple days ago, and one of the options is we leave the session with the status quo, and I guess we'll see what happens when these bills come up towards the end of this week, first part of next.
So there's a chance you could do nothing about it at all?
Yeah, there's a chance of that, yes.
The Senate doing nothing? Because you guys have an argument maybe this week or floor debate this week about it.
I suspect that Vickers' bill would probably pass, but again, that's one of the options, is that nothing passes this session and we keep the status quo.
Do you share some of the same concerns that the church has said that they have with Madsen's bill?
I don't know if I completely align with the church's concerns, but I've had my own personal concerns. I visited dispensaries and also places where they actually grow the marijuana and process it. I've seen that in Arizona. I've seen it in Colorado. Colorado is obviously recreational, but a lot of what they produce there is for medicinal purposes. And the whole dispensary system really concerns me, and just the being able to control how these substances are distributed. And we have a system, unfortunately we can't use it because it's a Class 1, Schedule 1 drug, and I think the first thing that needs to be done is Congress has got to deal with that issue before we really dive into making this legal or creating all kinds of distribution systems when we already have distribution systems, the pharmacy to where people can get access to prescriptive drugs. Any other comments on how you feel the medical marijuana issue is going to go here in the Senate?
I'm not certain, but I'm hoping that we'll be hearing both bills when we do, to be able to weigh them the same time, that was my motion in getting it out of committee, was so we could hear both of them on the floor and try to figure out which would be the best way to go. I'm quite taken by the fact that discussion thus far and reports coming back has lowered the number of opioid deaths in communities wherever in the states that do have medical marijuana. And it is it's being prescribed as a pain medication. And I think that makes an interesting thing because of the addictiveness and everything that they're claiming on it. I still need to do some study on that.
Senator, have you taken a position on it for the minority caucus?
The caucus itself does not take positions on hardly anything. To kind of leave it to ourselves to make our best decisions in representing our constituencies. But I believe there is a leaning towards doing something. What it'll take, and I think the debate on both bills is important to hear.
And we'll try and do those close together. We're spending an hour on the floor in the morning and in the afternoon this week. If it comes up, it could take a whole session in the morning or the afternoon or the whole hour. But we're going to try and do them as close as possible, both bills.
Do you expect you might time certain?
It's potential. We talked about it today.
I also talked to Senator Shizawa, who has a resolution that may kind of play into how both of those bills are perceived and how they might interact. It isn't out yet. I don't have any of the details, but I understand that he's going to be trying to get that one out as well that might enter into the debate. So sometime we'll sure be looking at all of those. I don't know how much influence the church's announcement will have on this particular discussion, just because there are people that we've been talking about it for a couple of years, and I think my thoughts are people have pretty much made up their mind. And there might be a couple of fence riders that may be influenced by additional information that may come out. But I think it's going to be just one of those really interesting debates on the floor where the floor debate may swing it one way or the other on any of those bills.
Any other questions for the press?
I'd like to add something. I don't know if you caught it, but on Friday when we did our final base budgets, we announced that there was just about $40 million that we had located in various committees that we could find, either that they were non-lapsing balances or programs that expired, whatever. But I think that really tells a good tell about the effectiveness of this base budget process we're going through. $40 million, that takes care of the deficit we started the session with in general fund. 40 million, or it could be used to pay the growth in Medicaid, the natural growth that comes because of more people. So that's really, I think, a compliment to the legislators who took that very seriously and looked at those. And I know in talking to chairs, they've located other funds they haven't specifically identified that they'll be able to use as they start building their budgets back in. So I think it's been a very worthwhile project.
Very much so. Yeah, we appreciate the hard work of those on the appropriation committees. I guess that's everybody, but all committees have been working hard to do our job, which is to make sure we're getting the money where it needs it most.
Senator Hilliard, on that note, the Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County are going to ask for as much as $27 million for homeless services. Are they going to get it?
I don't know. Lots of requests up here, and that's why if you see me off the floor, I'm not out lollygagging somewhere. I'm usually meeting with the groups who are coming like that and making their pitch, their presentation, and I tell them it'll depend on the committees. The committees, they need to make the presentation. SJR 9 that we did today is really geared to making those things now public in committees or on the floor. So I can tell you they won't be. We won't give them $27 million by just sneaking it in the budget. I can guarantee you that.
If you want to get an appropriation through, you want to make sure you go to that sub-appropriation committee and get ranked high as a priority and then that makes it easy for the Executive Appropriation Committee to get it prioritized if there's money in the forecast. And we'll have a budget forecast here in
February
about
20
2 weeks.
February 22nd is when staff are planning on announcing new revenue figures, and I'll give my prediction. I hope we just stay even. That's my hope.
Do we have some questions from our viewers?
We do have one.
Excellent.
This came in
Thank
via
you.
Twitter. It's not from Jason Williams. Somebody wants to know, how did JRI get passed without providing funding for substance abuse treatment? JRI is treatment instead of jail. Explain.
Wish Senator Adams was here, but Senator Okerlund?
Been on the committee where we've been discussing that a little bit. It's going to take a while for us to really see what the JRI does to our budgets, to our programs. We're trying to figure out right now why we have fewer inmates in our entire correctional system. If it is a blip, JRI hasn't been in effect long enough for us to know if that's part of the reason. So we're just going to have to see how that works for a while to see if we're actually experiencing some savings on the correctional side that could then be shifted towards the treatment side. And it may take another session for us to be able to figure out how that's all going to work. But we obviously understand that if we're going to be committing more people to treatment programs and putting them into those treatments, that we're going to have to find some way to fund that. And we can't just pass that on down to the locals because they don't have any way to fund it either. So we've got to, it may take a while, but we've still got to figure that out. It's a great question. It's something we're going to be wrestling with for a while.
And I have the bill that'll correct that.
So thank you for that question. Hope that answers that question. A lot of this is driven by budget, and this is going to be a stair-step process for us to get further reforms, make sure we're covering all bases. I don't see any other questions, so
I
thank
have an announcement.
Okay.
Today at 5 o'clock is my son's karaoke party. And Matt just feels it's so great, and he invites everyone. If you've never been down there to watch it, it's fun. I told him I'd buy him an extra ice cream cone if he can get Bob Gerke out to sing and perform with the group. So Matt's really geared on that. He really likes ice cream cones.
We'll get that ice cream.
So Lee and all of you,
In the rotunda.
love to hear your voices this afternoon.
What time?
5 to 6.
Gotcha.
And it's
That's gotta make sure
it's
it's
really
camera
fun. You see, everybody invited, even the governor's been invited by Matt.
Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Remember my Super Bowl prediction.
Did you predict today?